Mercedes Ostermann van Essen here again with more advice on how to create harmony and coherence in your brain. In over 15 years of working with traders and entrepreneurs, basically with people in high performance professions, I learned one major thing, which is probably very different from what most coaches out there will teach you, and that is the major, major impact our environment has on our brains. There are basically four things we need to understand and tune into in order to hone our awareness how they impact our brains. The first one, I've discussed it in several videos recently, are the Schumann waves. The second one is the climate. The third one is supercycles, and associated with the supercycle shifts is astrology. And finally, the fourth one are man-made EMF and pollution to the food chain, to the water chain, basically to the atmosphere and to the Earth's mantle in general. Put together, those four areas have intensified due to the fact of the shift in a supercycle we are finding ourselves in at the moment, which is changing the energetic climate in which we are operating. In other words, the vantage point through which you observe, your consciousness observes life, is changing. This is a issue that is affecting every single one of us, albeit in different ways, because different professions have got different challenges, as each individual's path obviously is different and our energy signature is unique and different to the individual. However, in terms of cosmic law, there is only one cosmic law, at least in our present, shall we say, for the want of a better word, incarnation as the human species here on Earth. And those laws are impacting on all of us. I will not go into the what the Schumann waves are, how they are affecting us, because you can watch my other videos here on this channel where I've talked about this in depth. Suffice it to say that when there are fluctuations, as we are experiencing them at the moment, of a very, very high degree, in other words, there is huge volatility, those traders of amongst you will know exactly what I'm talking about, it becomes more challenging for our brain to constantly adjust. And this is the name of the game: adjustment and alignment. The same is true about the climate. The climate is directly linked to the huge fluctuation in the Schumann waves. It is linked to the sunspot activity and solar flares, of which we have seen a lot. It's all basically cyclical, and the major cycle, of course, I'm talking about is what the Mayan calendar has identified at the 26,000 year cycle, and many other wisdom traditions, by the way, have identified the same cycle with incredible accuracy based on astrological calculations. As consciousness is directly linked to the energy frequency through which it sees its reality, and this energy frequency is clearly shifting. Mainly the dominant 7.83 hertz frequency is still there. Let's make no mistake, I've said this before, that frequency is still there, but it is being overlaid by various other frequencies which are in harmony with that frequency, and that is shifting the vantage point through which our consciousness is operating, because the dominance of the frequency is changing. You really, really need to get this. Frequencies are basically the energy lines upon which we receive information. As we are going through this major transition period, there is a constant fluctuation up and down, from extremes to the high to extremes of the low. The consequence of this is that our brain has got an incredibly hard time to constantly switch from high frequencies to low frequencies. So the one moment you have made the shift, you are feeling okay again, you are feeling in harmony, you feel you got everything in control, the whole energetic ball game changes again, and here your brain finds itself in a position where it needs to sort of look how to adjust to the new frequency, which it's basically ill-equipped to do because it's all new and the brain really doesn't quite know how to do this. This is why we need new tools to help us build on the nimbleness of the brain, encourage the brain to be nimble, and encourage the brain to work in harmony with the whole body, because the whole thing is a whole body and even whole environment experience. We cannot separate between the mind, the body, and our personal environment any longer because of everything that is going on and these constant fluctuations and this increased volatility. The fourth factor, as if you didn't know it, you certainly will if you have watched my videos, is of course man-made EMF and the associated pollution, which is all pervasive in the atmosphere, in the earth, in the soil where we are planting our food, and in the water. So the man-made pollution is, shall we say, the so-called negative icing on the cake. Because really, if we only had to deal with the change of the Schumann waves, the change of the climates within that massive super cycle shift, we would be fine. We know from reports of the wisdom traditions that certainly the Mayans, they knew that this was happening. They didn't have a big problem with it. The problem we are facing in this cycle, which is a smaller cycle, a fractal of the cycle of the super cycle shift, which is a 5,600 year cycle, is that massive overwhelm we are experiencing from the man-made electromagnetic fields and the pollution of all the toxins, in addition to the electromagnetic frequencies we are putting out there. So this is basically the one thing that is making life extremely uncomfortable for us at the moment. It is also the factor that is making it more difficult for our brains to adjust, for our bodies to adjust and relax, because the man-made EMF and the man-made pollution from toxins does one thing, and that affects all aspects of our lives. And that thing is that it raises our alert system. In other words, the fight or flight responses in our brains are constantly triggered through one thing or another. And the more psychological issues you have, I am talking about unresolved trauma, unresolved hurts, and anything that you are carrying around with you in terms of, let's call it, emotional baggage, you will be triggered by these energies and will find it more difficult to make shifts. And this is one of the reasons why we cannot get away from facing up to the fact that at some point we have to deal with our stuff. This is not the time anymore to shovel everything under the carpet and pretend that just with a little bit of stiff upper lip we will be fine. Things are different. The whole energetic environment in which we are finding ourselves and will be finding ourselves in our future for many, many lifetimes to come is very, very different. So we need to adjust rather than going back to the old coping mechanisms. They, as well, are not working anymore, and we need to look at new ways, bigger ways, more expansive ways of dealing with the environment and with ourselves. Ultimately, it is all about moving into more acceptance and more love, if you like. That is the outcome that will come from learning techniques to get into coherence, learning techniques to become more harmonious within yourself and within your personal environment. The tools are out there. What is required from you is that you are willing and open to shift the old status quo and stop thinking from the past and embrace a new way of operating. I wouldn't even want to call it so much a new way of thinking. It really is a completely new way of operating, a completely new modus operandi we are looking at. If you do want to find out more, please sign up for my newsletter. A link to my website is at the bottom. There is on the homepage a link where you can sign up to my website to get more information on upcoming webinars and special offers. And last but not least, of course, my blog, which is regularly updated with the latest information. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please share it and like it, and visit thebuddhisttrader.com to keep updated with the latest and get your brain into harmony and coherence.